Hi, I'm Janie Bishop, a residential real estate broker here in the Los Angeles area, and I am going to be discussing the current state of the real estate market in our area. The most recent numbers available are for the month of January 2024, and most of these were properties that went under contract in December had a 30-day escrow and closed in January. So from the numbers, you will see that there is still a seasonal impact in that. Median price in Los Angeles County fell just over 2%, but year over year we are still up 7%. In Ventura County, the median price year to year fell just about 1%. And is still up almost 7% also. These are very similar to the year before, and again support the fact that this is a seasonal trend. And that's what happens at the holidays. Especially once the holiday decorations go up, then sellers aren't nearly as interested in opening their home to buyers. So it's very common to see from about before Thanksgiving all the way through the end of the year. With regards to the amount of sales, that's also showing the seasonal impact. The total sales volume for January closings in Los Angeles County were down 20% month to month, but pretty even with a year ago, same time last year. In Ventura County, the drop wasn't quite as much, 10% in sales month over month, but almost 15% year over year. I also think it's interesting to watch the interest rate. The interest rate stayed pretty consistent through January, in the mid-6 range, 6.5 range. And so the mortgage applications did tick up. Unfortunately, at the end of the month and in February, the rates ticked up a little bit and the mortgage applications dropped. One of the other factors I have been watching is the commercial real estate market as sort of a factor of the overall economy, which of course impacts the residential real estate prices. I attended a presentation by one of the economists from the California Association of Realtors named Jordan Levine, and he did discuss the commercial market and wasn't quite as concerned, which made me feel a whole lot better. He seemed to think that while the commercial market has a number of sectors, so, medical offices, warehouses, retail, are not experiencing the same conditions that the office space segment is, but he seemed to think that the drop in vacancies and alls would make their prices fall, but it wouldn't be so drastic. One of the concerns has been that if the office segment of the commercial market sees serious trouble, that some of the regional banks could fail. And that, of course, would impact not only the economy, but us psychologically. Jordan Levine seemed to think that that was not as immediate a concern as some of the other news outlets, which goes to show you really have to look at the numbers more closely. So that was a good relief to me. One of the other topics that's come up recently has been with office vacancies. Can and should they be converted to residential properties? Which sounds good, but is a little trickier than people think. And I'm thinking anecdotally of a property in the Santa Clarita area that was on the market and proposed as that, and a number of prospective buyers looked at it, but when they got into the costs of converting it to residential property, it just didn't pencil out. And so, while that's a good idea, it's a little more complicated than it looks on paper. I mean, you have to think obviously the layouts have to be completely redone. The plumbing and electrical has to be completely redone. The parking may or may not be appropriate. The insulation may or may not be appropriate. And then one of the other factors is just that commercial construction uses a lot more steel and expensive materials. And so recouping the cost of that just doesn't always pencil out at residential prices. So anyway, just something I have been following and thought you might be interested. Something else you might be interested is I've sort of been following the real estate market in China because they're having some trouble. And I have to tell you, I read a couple of articles that were very, if you're especially into history and modern history, it's very interesting to watch to watch a country that is primarily communist trying to set up and run a capitalist real estate market. And so as the residents moved from the country into the cities, they needed a lot of housing, and the government had to stimulate the market. But artificial stimulating gets very tricky as the timing as to when to pull back. And so it got overheated, and that's why they're having trouble now. But if you're interested, I'd look into it. It's a very interesting topic. And then it's funny, as I was thinking about it, I couldn't help but think there is some similarity, although we've been capitalists for a long time, but with the whole COVID phenomena and the artificial stimulation that in hindsight probably ran too long, and now we have the repercussions of that. So anyway, very interesting if you're into these sort of things. One of the other things is that customarily after the new year, buyers and sellers both come back from the holidays. Buyers usually first, and they start working on their mortgage applications and all that. And then the sellers, sometimes it takes there's a little bit of a lag as they have to do preparation, decide, and then do some preparation to their properties and that sort of thing. But at the moment, the sellers are just a little slow to come back to the market. And I believe that a portion of that is that especially the sellers who are seniors are not coming back to the market quite as quickly. And I work a lot with seniors, and so anecdotally, some of this is because, as they say, I don't know where I would want to move. So unless they are moving out of state to move close to family or potentially have in mind a senior community, they're just staying put. And that unfortunately is keeping our inventory low at the moment. And so that's what we're seeing out here. If you would like to chat about real estate or possibly buying or selling a property, I hope you reach out to me.